Hey guys, I just want to make a video on weak auras, how to make your own. Every time I upload videos, I almost always get asked about my weak auras, so I'm going to make one on how to make weak auras. This can be applied to any expansion, really. And my approach is very simple. I'm not like a big pro at this, but you'll see all these icons down here, right? I really like that it's big, it's glowy, and it's kind of like this whack-a-mole. It's like a game in itself, you know what I mean? But the thing is, like, I used to work for this commercial real estate firm, and I made their website, right? And they told me their investors were really old. Their clients are like 60s and 70s, so they told me to use like really big fonts, and I'm getting old, so like I'm starting to feel that. You know what I mean? So that's why I like this. I like a big UI like that. It helps me a lot. There's sound effects involved as well, as you heard that Mario one. Um, but there's interactive ones like this will be flame shock if there's no flame shock, right? So it tells me to keep it up, and then when I have 5 or more stacks, it'll be elemental blast, and then I'll turn into lava burst, and then it'll turn into lightning bolt, etc. So it's very interactive. This will tell me if I have earth shield on, and then when I use it, it'll tell me who has it and how many stacks are left. This is a buff reminder. So there's the new buff on shamans. So if I take it off, it'll show up again, right? So I'll go over icons, text, and progress bars, and I'll also show you how to implement your own sound. All right, so let's look at a simple icon. How to make a simple icon. So let's disable frost shock and let's make a new one. So to disable it, my easiest way is I go into load, and this will tell the weak aura when it's gonna load. So I go to player level and I make it 1. So obviously I'm not level 1, so it's gonna turn off the weak aura, right? So let's go and let's create a new aura, and we're gonna do icon. And if you go to load, right, I like to turn it on when it's in combat only. You could do not in combat, or it doesn't matter. And then I like to choose the class I'm using. This is very important for organization, because when I play on like a paladin, like I don't want all these shaman weak auras to show up, so it just keeps your organization really clean. And let's name this frost shock test, right? Okay, so now we have a frost shock, and our organization is really there. So let's display this. I like to add a glow, right? You'll notice on the icon right here, it is glowing. That's just preference. And then we go to trigger, right? This is kind of like your statements, right? Kind of like functions. So trigger 1, right? This is important to notice. It's a trigger combination. You could do this will change if you add more triggers, but it'll say like any trigger or all triggers, and it's pretty much like a boolean, like a true or false function. And let's go into not aura. This is more about buffs and debuffs. We really want to look at the spell information, and by default it's going to go into cooldowns, charges, and counts, which is like the main one you use. So let's go in there and let's name it frost shock. That's the spell we're looking up. Now you notice my icon changed to frost shock, and let's say that it is not on cooldown, so it's usable, right? That's when this will pop up. So let's get into combat. Oh, it showed up. Press frost shock, goes away. All right, so the weak aura works, and that is a very simple approach to just icons alone. Let's get into progress bar. All right, and the last thing I want to go over is actually progress textures, right? So let's make a new aura, and what these are really good for are like if something procs that has a timer on it, like a window of opportunity to use it. These will actually be really good. So let's go ahead and change the color. We're doing primordial wave, so let's make it green. And the reason I'm using primordial wave is I don't want to wait on some RNG proc to happen, right? So I could plug it into flurry, but we'd just be sitting around waiting for it to happen. So let's go to primordial wave test, right? So let's go into you could change the actual graphic, right? of which one you want. And what's really cool is as the timer that you have allowed to use it, this will actually go down with it, telling you how much time you have to use it. But let's go ahead and trigger, and I guess we're in load, but we could do in combat and make this enhancement. And why not be organized? And then let's go into aura, player, buff, name, and let's name it Primordial Wave, right? And that is going to be our own, and the aura is found, right? So let's see if this works. Oh, I got the buff, Primordial Wave. It is going down with the time I have left to use it, right? And then I'm out of combat, but I used it, and Primordial Wave goes away. So that is how to use progress, textures. You can plug this into procs, and that's where I think it's really good, right, to have. So that is how you use progress textures. All right, so progress bars. I have one like Bloodlust, right? It shows the logo, it shows the time left on the Bloodlust, and it even plays a sound. Let's go over both the actual bar and the sound together. So let's go ahead and turn this off. Let's change the player level to 1, so now this goes away. Now it's in the not loaded section. And let's create a new aura, and let's call this a progress bar. Let's name it BL test. And let's go ahead and change this to we can load this whenever. I think this is a universal one, so any of your characters that get bloodlust, this will work. So we display the icon. I like to put an icon right on the you'll see the icon show up there. We can make this bigger, right? So there you go. So I like to put the icon on the left side, so you can do that. And that's all you really got to do for display. And then trigger, we do want an aura. This is a buff, and it's on us, and we want to name this Bloodlust, right? I think it's one word, right? Yeah, okay, so, but then you're going to get into problems like this, right? So you also want to add, like, heroism, right? But it's going to pick up some random, like, renew icon from Priest. So you can hover over it, and you can see the spell IDs in a list. And I just pick any of the heroism ones, and it'll trigger all of them. So the first one has the logo of heroism. So we can go 65983, right? 5983, and now heroism is in there, and this works for, like, time warp. Now the icon isn't the time warp icon, so we do like 162, 128. Now we have time warp, and I think there's like primal rage, right? And then there's also the evoker one. I guess we could look in here what it says. So the evoker one is called Fury of the Aspects. We can add that as well. I think that's all of them. I don't know. But now we have every bloodlust in here on, right? So this is going to go on top here. And we don't want to put own only. We want all of them to trigger like whenever it is triggered, and auras found. So now this will work, right? We can also do a custom sound, right? You can do it in actions. It's a very easy approach is to do it in actions, right? Like on show, right? When this happens, do a chat message to everyone. Maybe this is good for like if you're taunt resist or something. That's a big thing, and you want to yell it or put it in raid or party. Or you could play a sound, right? So if I pick one, bam, it'll just play bam. But you can also go to custom. Right, and let's pick up a short one. I don't want it to be too long, but my actual Bloodlust plays like the Star Song from Mario. So let's get like Stormbringer, the coin up, I guess is fine. So let's go to BL and let's do that. Yeah, if it makes a sound, it works. Now, how this works, right? How to get a custom sound is actually pretty simple, right? So you just download whatever you want. Let's say I got mine from the Mushroom Kingdom. This is just all Mario sounds, right? and you can click on it to download, and then you do want to convert it to MP3. So once you do that, just go to just Google any audio MP3 converter and put it in there, and it should work. But the folder you want to put it in, right, is you go to your C drive or whatever drive WoW's in, program files 86. The very bottom should say World of Warcraft. And then out of all the expansions, you pick the one that you're working with. Mine is retail right now. And then you want to go to interface, and you don't want to put it in your add-ons folder because it can get overwritten when you update another folder that has the same name as the folder you're using. So I just made a folder in here called custom, and then I just drop all of the sound effects in this folder, right? So when you go in here and you put in custom, you always start with interface / the folder name you made / the sound effect name, right? And that is how you import it. You will have to fully close bnet and WoW altogether and relaunch the whole thing to get it to work after you drop the sound file into your folder. Reload won't work. Just closing WoW won't work. You have to fully close bnet. Took me hours to figure that out. I couldn't figure that out for the longest time. But then over here, the sound channel, right? This is plugged into your audio, right? So you see there's music, master, dialogue, ambient, all that. That is plugged into your options, audio, and these channels right here, like master, music, effects, ambience, so you can control the volume of individual Weakauras sounds, right? So I think this works. Let's give it a test. Let's get in combat. It made the sound, the coin sound, and you see Bloodlust on top. So now we know that works. I like to put a song on, that gets me pumped up. I know it's kind of stupid, but I think it's fun. And you'd be surprised at how many times I actually acknowledge I have Bloodlust now because of the music I put on. So I think that's really fun and a great way to just acknowledge that such a big buff is happening, right? So that is progress bars and sounds. Let's look at text. All right, so text, right? I have one that is for my Maelstrom stacks. You'll see down here, but it also when I get 5 or more Maelstroms, it will have a sparkly thing. I don't know. It's kind of cool. I'll show you how to do that too. But let's go ahead and make a text. Let's go ahead and turn this one off first. Let's go to player level 1, so that's off. And let's make a new aura. And text is really good if you just want to have sound functionality and you don't want any visual on your screen. But let's make a Maelstrom stack test. And let's, you can do the same thing in combat and make it enhance only. And let's go to display. We actually want to make the display track stacks and not progress, right? So if you go in here, there's usually a menu of all the kind of functions or variables. So let's go into stacks. So that would be %s, and we're good. And we can see it right here, right? So let's actually make the size a lot bigger. And I like to use cabin. I think cabin looks pretty cool. And the text, let's go blue, something like that maybe, right? So now we have kind of the display down. And now let's go into the functionality, right? So the trigger is we're tracking what Maelstrom stacks, right? So that is an aura, and that is a buff, and that is on us, right? A player. So let's do the name, and it is actually called Maelstrom Weapon, is the actual buff that shows up here. And let's go ahead and do stack count. And this is going to seem redundant, but because I want to implement sound effects, I do this individually. In coding, this is really a sign of a bad programmer. It's not really modular, it's kind of like hard coding, not soft coding. But whatever. Let's track only our Maelstrom weapons, right? Nobody else's. And aura is found. right? So that is being tracked. Let's go ahead and duplicate this and just make this 2 stacks, right? And then duplicate this again, and we're gonna pretty much do this all the way till 10. But there, now we have our maelstrom stacks, right? And then let's go ahead and into conditions. Like, yeah, you can make sounds from like when it shows up here, right? Or when it is on hide, when it goes away, you know, you can do that. But when you have more control, you go into conditions, and you this is kind of like if else statements. And what it's going to show is all the triggers now. Right, so let's go to trigger 5, and when this is active, right, when this happens. Oh, another thing you want to do, sorry, up here where it says all triggers right here, this is saying all triggers are true, which is impossible, right? Because trigger 1 can't be trigger 2. You know, 1 stack cannot equal 2 stacks. So we go to any triggers to make sure all of these are active. Really important to put that on for this weak aura. So you go into triggers, right, and you say trigger 5, right? 5 stacks is active, and that is true. And then what do we want to do? We want to play a sound, and then we want to play it once. We don't want to loop it. We don't want a stop sound. We want to play it. Then we can go to custom, right? And then we can go to plug this into our master channel. And then I forgot what they're called, right? So let's go and here, let's say this Mario sound, just copy paste it. And then let's do that, and if it works, it'll play a sound.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, and then let's duplicate this, but let's change the aura trigger to 10 stacks. So when you have 5 stacks, it'll play a sound, and when you have 10 stacks, it'll play a sound. So everything's the same, but we're gonna change the actual sound to a power-up sound from Mario, right? And there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out. Yeah, 1 stack, 3 stacks. Yeah, it's working, right? Oh, damn it. Did the power-up sound. Okay, let's see if the other sound is working. I didn't hear it.
Let's go.
Oh, there we go. I probably just skipped 5 stacks and went straight to 6 or something. That's why I didn't trigger. So that's working, right? Another thing is you can add a graphic to it if you want, but let's just do it, right? So new aura, let's say model, right? MS stack test 2, and then we can go to display, and you can just choose which model you want, right? It'll actually show up on the screen when this is triggered. But let's go to like particles. I think particles are really cool, right? So you can have like these pop up in the middle when something is happening. I forgot which one I picked. It was like some like sprinkle. I mean, you get the idea, right? Let's yeah, this is the one I picked, right? So we can make this a lot bigger and put it right there, whatever. Okay, and we want to trigger this when the aura player buff name is Maelstrom Weapon. And I did this when stack count was greater or equal to 5. Okay, we're looking at our own only, and aura found. Okay, so what we want to do is now group this, right? Add to new group, and that is done. So now you can just move the group around as one piece to organize it. We can go into combat here and see how it works.
Let's go.
So then, oh, now the sparkles there. There you go. So now you have some more like visual effects to add to your weak aura. Let's go ahead and get into something a little bit more complicated, like my Earth Shield weak aura. All right, so we're getting a little bit more complex, but it's not that hard. I just haven't really done this in a while, so I'm a little rusty, but let's go ahead and make the Earth Shield weak aura. So if we go to new and icon, right, we can just say ES test 1. There we go. So display, I want this to glow, right, and then I want to turn off the text, right? It's going to track the stacks by default, so let's turn that off. And let's trigger this if the aura buff name is Earth Shield, and it's on the player, not a party member or raid. You can change that later if you like. But then let's go into mine only. I only want to track mine, and the aura is missing, right? So let's go ahead and test this out. So I don't have Earth Shield, so it's showing up, right? So I press Earth Shield, goes away. So the first part of this is done. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. The first thing you're going to want to do is, now the aura is found, right? So what happens when this is found? So then we want to go into display, and then we want to go into text, and we want this to be stacks, right? So if you click on this, it'll show a diagram of everything here, and %s is tracking stacks, right? Let's change the color. You'll notice that it'll pop up, right? So you see that, you might be able to not see it, but there's a 1 in the bottom right. It's really small. Let's increase it to like 26, so you can see the 1 way more now. I like it to be on the top right of the icon, right? So I want it to be inside the icon edge, and then I want it to be on the top right, and that's a little bit more clean. I like to turn the glow off, indicating that the buff is on now instead of off. And then I like to also let's add another text. Let's just duplicate this one, and let's name this. If you look on the right side, I think it's %1.unit name. You can see this at the bottom right here. Okay. Now let's also orient this in the bottom of the icon, right? Let's see if that works. Yeah, it works. Kagasar is really big. Let's go ahead and fix that. So in the text 2, which is showing the unit name, let's lower that down to like 16. That's better. You know, it's good enough. But then what you want to do is group this together, right? And now you can move it together as one, right? And then yeah, it's working. So that is how I do my Earth Shield. Now you have a little bit more information per icon, right? Let's move on to something a little bit more advanced. All right, so now we're getting into what a lot of people have requested is the Maelstrom spell information, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to show if the target has Flame Shock on them or not, and it's going to prioritize that first. And then every time I get 5 or more stacks, it's going to show my Elemental Blast. And then after both of those have gone through, it's going to show Lava Burst. And if both Elemental Blast and Lava Burst are on cooldown as well, it's going to show Lightning Bolt. So let's go ahead and start with the Flame Shock. So you just start new aura icon. And, you know, let's do the display. Why not? Combat, and it is enhanced build. Right, let's just be organized, and then let's go to display, and let's turn on glow. Let's go to trigger, and the first thing we want, right, is we want to see the cooldown of Flame Shock, right? So Flame Shock there is not on cooldown. Now let's duplicate this, and let's say want to look at buffs, right? So we go to aura, and then target instead of player. We want to see our target's buff, and we actually want to see debuff, and the name is Flame Shock, right? So there, and we're only tracking our Flame Shock, not everybody in the raid, right? And then we want to see if the aura is missing, right? Then it will show us this, and we have selected all triggers, not any triggers, so it's showing us if both of these triggers are true. Let's get into combat. It works. So in combat it activated, and Flame Shock is ready to use. It's not on cooldown, and the enemy's missing it. So if we click here, it's not on cooldown, so it is, there it is, now it's popping up. If we go back here, there is Flame Shock already on him, so it won't show up. Alright, so Flame Shock is working. Let's go into Elemental Blast, right? forgot to name it. Flame shock. Flame shock test. Okay, so now let's get into the next one, right? Let's duplicate this. And let's just name it same thing for now, and let's group this together to keep organized. And then let's name this Maelstrom spell rock, whatever. Okay, so let's now rename the second one. This will be Elemental Blast Test. So now let's go into trigger, right? And let's add a trigger, and let's say, actually let's delete that. Let's go into the cooldown, right? So now we're checking the cooldown of Elemental Blast. And I keep this on the top trigger 1, so that'll pick the logo for you. And this is not on cooldown, so this is ready to use. And the aura flame shock debuff is on the target, so we have to switch from missing to found. So it's making sure that flame shock is on the target, elemental blast is not on cooldown, and we also want to check if our maelstroms are active. So we go aura, player, buff, name, maelstrom weapon, right? And we want to check the stack count is greater or equal to 5. So this will trigger every time it's usable. You can change this to like 8 to 10 stacks if you want to only see this when it's like really high stacks. And then we say aura's found, and then add trigger, and then that should work. So let's get into combat here. And okay, so flame shock is on them, goes away, right? And then let's get to 5 stacks. There, elemental blast is now active. Okay, so that works, right? So let's go ahead and go into our Weakauras again, and let's duplicate the elemental blast, and let's call this lava burst test. So now we're tracking lava burst, right? So let's go to trigger 1. Now let's see if lava burst is not on cooldown, it's ready to use. And then let's go into trigger 2. Flame shock is active on the target, right? So that is gonna stay. And then that we have maelstrom stacks of 5 or greater, so let's keep that. Now we gotta add one more, and this is going to be spell elemental blast, right? And this is when this is on cooldown. So when you cannot use elemental blast, I want you to show me lava burst, right? So that should work just as is. We'll test it in a sec. Let's just go to duplicate, and let's do the lightning bolt, right? Lightning bolt test, and let's change the trigger 1 to lightning bolt, right? And not on cooldown. It doesn't have a cooldown, so it's just always going to be active. It's always going to be true. Same thing. Flame shock is on the target. Maelstrom is 5 or greater, and elemental blast is on cooldown. The one thing we want to change though is now not just elemental blast, but lava burst is also on cooldown. So both of those spells are on cooldown. Then show us lightning bolt as a last resort. So let's give this a little test. Let's do a bloodlust just to get some stacks here. So flame shock, right? So now I'm gonna use elemental blast into lava burst is up now, done. And now let's see if we can get 5 stacks for their lightning bolts there, right? So there, it works. Now you have a maelstrom proccing Weakauras that tells you which spell to use and reminds you to use flame shock, right? So well, that's just about what I got for you. That is how I use my Weakauras. There's a lot more to learn, obviously. It's a really in-depth add-on, and if this did help you out, please like and subscribe. And if you do have any tips or tricks that you want to share with the community, please leave it down below. Also, if you are having trouble with anything, maybe a Weakaura is not working for you, and you want some maybe help, please leave it down below. We could even sync up in Discord, and we could really troubleshoot it together. But yeah, Weakauras is a great add-on. It's very powerful. You could really customize the way you play the game, and I recommend it to anyone out there that hasn't gotten into it. And it can be addicting. You could really spend hours getting lost in just making one weak aura. So yeah, that is what I got for you guys. Thank you very much.